So I was just out of town. The hospitality was iffy. They kind of called you a bitch when you came in, and
I'm sorry, the people at the restaurant called you a bitch.
I'll name you. What do we even think, bitches? I said, oh, really?
How was the food?
I went there 3 times in a row.
Welcome everyone to the Restaurant Roundtable.
We're a support group for restaurant owners.
By restaurant owners.
Brought to you by Kraft Heinz.
All season long, we discuss the
Challenges,
opportunities,
The good taste.
And the bad taste within the industry.
and we're your hosts. I'm BJ.
I'm Shanika.
I'm Jamar.
I'm Kate.
I'm Abishar.
So, if you're a chef, an owner,
Or aspiring to be one.
You're going to want to pull up a chair to this round table.
all right, friends, welcome back to the Restaurant Roundtable, coming to you today from Abishar's lovely Joya's restaurant here in Worthington. Thank you for hosting us tonight. We are brought to you by Kraft Heinz, away from home, and we are a podcast for chefs by chefs. And we've got a really fun topic today. We're going to be talking about Jamar's favorite topic, food versus service. We've got a lot to dive into there. But first off, we haven't seen each other in a little while. Let's start off with our catch-up of the day. Anything to fill the group in on?
So we just opened up our third Marlowe's cheesesteaks.
Congratulations.
Inside the Newark Market, downtown Columbus. So
That's
yes.
awesome. How's it going so far?
So far, so good. Just want to give a huge shout out, to the team. So it was a lot to get done in a short amount of time.
I'm stoked because now you're located really close to my house and really close to my work. So I can have cheesesteaks every day now.
Every day.
Will the wife approve?
No, but yes. She loves your cheesesteaks too. She just doesn't like what they do to my tummy. So.
My catch-up of the day is to Kraft Heinz Home Away from Home for giving us this amazing opportunity, but also because I saw myself on camera and my fat ass got in the gym. I lost about 15 pounds since the last recording.
But you look great, so well done.
So thank you, Kraft Heinz, for allowing me to see how big I really was.
All right, now I feel motivated. You did a little bit of a physical transformation. I think that I was working on a little bit of a mental transformation between these last 2 episodes. And I deleted a bunch of my social media since the last time that we talked, a little mental health break. And it's actually been really fantastic.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
that's my
Good.
catch-up.
That's good.
I'm just trying to figure out what my catch-up is. Nothing new is exciting.
That sounds like an exciting news. Yeah. Having no news is good news, they say.
Yeah, no news is good news.
No news is good news.
I'll be, yeah.
Abishar, what's new, man?
We have a lot new, but what was kind of cool is here at Joyous, we actually revitalized something that was something that Kate and I are familiar with. It was called Secret Kitchen Menu. So, we've been open for a couple of years now. We have a lot of staples and we have a lot of regulars that are like, hey, we want to see some spiciness, a little bit of sauce on there. So our secret sauce is our secret menu. It's an Instagram page that you can go to and see stuff that we have only limited amounts of that we feel like excited by. So all of our dishes are going to start to have alternate personalities. We think it's really cool because then you can feed the people that come, new people, and then your regulars can have some new stuff too.
That's awesome. You want to plug it? What's it called? How do we find it?
Secret Kitchen Menu. It's
Secret
literally
Kitchen?
Secret Kitchen Menu. Yeah, Kate thought of the
on
name.
Instagram.
Yeah,
It's on Instagram. All right. I kept Instagram so I can see there. So
Remember,
all right, go.
the best secret is something you tell only one person at a time.
So today's main segment is food versus service, and essentially, how do you balance the act of providing a quality food while consistently maintaining great service? And at a more molecular level, will good service make up for poor food, or will great food make up for poor service? And kind of where do our proclivities lie in that? One thing that I thought was really cool, a quote that we found from Maya Angelou, said, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I feel like that's a really awesome lead in to our conversation for today. So Jamar, I wanted to kick it off. This was one that you really wanted to do. So I had a question for you.
Shoot.
Is a great dish enough to make up for bad service?
And I think I'm in the minority by saying if the food is delicious, I'll take the bad service.
I don't think that's the minority. I'm all there with you.
Well, when I discussed this outside of this group, the majority of people said they'll take the service and the food can just be marginal. But me, I'll take a shitty service for a great
Do you have an example of a time that you got crappy service and great food?
Well, I'll just give you a crazy example. So I was just out of town, and the hospitality was iffy. They kind of called you a bitch when you came in, and
I'm sorry, the people at the restaurant called you a bitch?
At the restaurant, how are you doing, bitches? Is this menu? What are we eating today, bitches? I said, oh, really?
How was the food?
I went there 3 times in a row.
So yeah, like them calling you a bitch.
So I was their bitch.
All right, well, that is
So,
proof positive for you that's how.
but on a serious note, as a customer, I would take kind of mediocre service just to know that I'm going to get that dish the way I want. And sometimes, well, I wouldn't say like maybe fast food. You got an expectation of kind of a high turnover, different staff there, so you might not get the greatest service, but that burger comes out the way you want. So, but at a more high quality restaurant, I kind of want both, for my money. But on the other aspect, as a restaurant owner, I want the service. We can have off days with food, but the service can never be compromised.
You've changed, because when we first started out, you were the reverse.
Yes,
Because I said service over food.
I said it was an argument.
You said food.
But that was as a
versus
customer.
service. No,
that was as a customer.
when we first opened as
No.
owner.
We're going to discuss this off camera.
Oh, we're this is right now. We're your therapist right here. Yeah.
No, do it in front of us.
Now
Yeah.
restaurant marriage
No.
therapy
Because
table.
I don't want to be sleeping on the sofa.
That's okay. It's on us.
With us being open
cool with that.
we opened in 22. So with us being open for 2 years and seeing the ebb and flows, is that what caused you to change your mind?
Yeah, because I told you that kind of going back, people will come back because when we get our reviews, they'll always say they agree to this. This was great, and we're just a fast casual, and that's bringing people back. Even though we have good food, sometimes we have off days, but they always talk about our service. Well, even before they say that this was a great cheesesteak, they say, "Wow, we can't believe we were at a fast casual." And that's our policy, is to greet the customer as they come in.
I know I came up with that.
Did you? I came up with the steak.
Service state.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of the big dilemma for me when we came up with talking about this. Is, to me, the food and the service are both really important. I have a few different ways that I kind of want to think about that, but from a guest perspective, kind of one thing that dawned on me is like online reviews, like when we get like Yelp and Twitter, or Yelp and Google, like those reviews. I started to think about which ones like hurt more, like the 1 star for the food or the 1 star for the service ones. And I realized that it's the service ones that really get me more. Cause I'm like, the food is a little bit subjective, right? Like what I like might not be for every single person, but what should be universal is that everyone feels taken care of when they come into the restaurant. Like, we're gonna make mistakes, but my mom was a small business owner, not in food, but she always taught me every mistake is an opportunity to impress. And I feel like those are the things that you can make up for, where maybe with the food, people don't necessarily want to speak up or anything like that. So I was really thinking about that. And like, the reviews on negative service hurt way deeper than the ones on negative food. How do you guys feel about that?
I know that I have often said around here that I believe in humanity and I don't like humans. So I don't think it should be a big surprise that I will always prioritize good food, and I'm willing to accept bad service in exchange for really good food. One of my most favorite restaurants, she made fresh dumplings and the food was amazing. I ate there all the time. But if you wanted any service, you either had to help yourself. When you wanted to pay the bill, you'd have to walk into the kitchen and interrupt her to get her to come out so you could pay. And it was uncomfortable, but the food was so good. Now, I also need to acknowledge that she is no longer in business. And so yet again, I am in the minority. But that said, if I go to a place that touts its service or that I go in expecting it, and if it's negligent or bad, then I find it exceptionally disappointing. And I find it harder for the food to overcome that service. So,
How about you, Abishar?
Well, there's 2 ways to look at it. I think from a guest perspective, it's expectation, right? What do you expect to do? You'll see a lot of really cool food bloggers going to like Thailand, and they're going to the streets of Thailand, and there's a line that's an hour long, and someone they could be literally putting the middle finger up at you and saying it's 1 cent that you pay, and you wait an hour and a half. and you get zero service, and you have a memorable meal that you never forget your entire life, and you come back, right? You could also go and say, take that exact same 1.5 hours and you wait for a place that's got a line out the door and they don't even greet you. They don't say hello to you here in the States at a restaurant that you've designed or that you've been at. Which one kind of stings more? And I think it's just expectation. Like if you know what you kind of signed up for. And I think as a responsibility for some of us as multi-business owners or anything that involves people coming to us inside of a place that has air conditioning, a bathroom, water, and any services offered, you already spend all the energy and all the money to make sure the space is safe. So why don't we have our staff carry that message forth? I think it's unreasonable to expect someone to walk through the door and be like, hey, you should just understand me just based on my food. Like that's very, very aggressive when what we're trying to do is spread love, right? So I think they both go, I'm a back of the house person. So I love making food. I love the power of what it can do to people. But without the message being spoken, it's really like what makes it, honestly, like it's, then you could say, hey, our burger at McDonald's is Shake Shack. You could say all these things. It's not just the quality of the food. It's a little bit of both, I think. And the cool thing about what you were saying earlier about the reviews that I think is interesting is what is a review? It's somebody giving you their opinion and their feedback. Mm-hmm. They're speaking to you, speaking a service. They're not sending you a burger back for a burger. They're exchanging how they feel as a response. Given that, I think that there's pillars, right? You got to have all the pillars. You have pillars of service, you have the pillar of food, and you have to have the pillar of beverage, because if one fails, the other two help. But I find it very, very challenging. Like, if somebody leaves and they have a bad food experience, whose job is it to make up for it? It is absolutely like the service has to be so forward that you see someone that's not liking what they're enjoying or uncomfortable, and you have to get over and say, man, that person looks like they're having a bad time, and say, hey, I'm so sorry. Is this not okay? And for them to say, yes, it's not okay. That's the most honest conversation you can have, and say, hey, I don't feel it. And what can you say? Oh, let me give you a gift card. I'm so sorry. Thanks for trying it. I don't want you to spend any money if you didn't have a good time, right? You can always do these things. But if you just take away service, what is your chance of correcting?
Now, let me ask you this. As a customer going into an establishment, if they give you bad food and great service, or great service and bad food, which one as a customer do you go for?
I think it just depends on which place I'm going to, right? If I had to do like $5 spent here, like if you're saying instead of $1,000 and I got this burger and this burger was in my mind worth $1,000, it's a different conversation, right?
Will you ever go back to a place with bad food but great service? Ever?
I think my fallacy is that I give too many people second chances. So,
Yeah.
so
you
maybe
would.
unlimited chances. Yeah, I don't know any better because I'm on the other side of this. But the reason that I'm in food and hospitality is that I like to share food. So the food has to be good. But we're in a day and age where you can pick up your phone and see all the world's information and communicate to anybody. You don't have to settle for one or the other. You can have both. So if we try to do both, it's a little bit better. I don't think one should trade off for the other. I think
then let's make it binary really quick. What if you're going out of town and there's two restaurants that you want to eat at, and one of them, the food always gets crapped on but great service, and the other one has bad service but great food? Like, which one are you going to gravitate to?
You should have been a lawyer, because you still haven't given us the right,
I'm dialing into
the real answer yet.
I'm coming there. I think it's like sometimes you got to work for it. If I just give it to you, it's not going to be worth it.
He's not picking one.
No, I mean,
He wants both.
Generally, it's the food, right? Because the food is on my side of it. The food is what gets people like I can't just offer service and then people, like, if I was this here and I was like, oh, I'm such a kind guy, I'm so nice, let me take a picture with you, but you don't eat anything. And we can actually relate this to, yes, I've been on TV and stuff, and there's some people who are like, hey, Avishar, I want to take a picture with you, right? It's really weird for me because I thought I was known for my food, but I'm not known for that, and that's more of a service aspect, right? I have to do that. I prefer for them to be like, hey, this burger's so good that now I want to take a picture with you. Like, that'd be really cool. But here we are, The food is what got me there. The service is what carries me. Like, if you happen to, people that make good food, I think they happen to usually actually be good people inside, actually. So I think that's the hard thing to kind of reveal in the service.
Out of town, though, which one would you pick? If you
if everybody crapped on it, then I'd go just because I'm curious.
You're one of those.
Yeah. I don't think
that's good.
Hey, I grew up
check
and
it out.
everybody used to like hate on me all the time. So I was like, man, I'm the person that was hated on. So I was like, why do people hate me so much? Sometimes you want to know, like, is it true that it's worth it or not? Because I've been to some places that are 1-star and they say the food is terrible, and the food was just it was honestly very, very good. It seemed like they had a bad experience, right? So it's hard to go off that, but I would like to enjoy the food. So if I were to go to Malaysia, for instance, I want to eat Malaysian food. I don't want to eat Malaysian service, So it's a part of mine, and I think like the whole food thing is like, it's culture, right? When you make a dish and you make it with respect to everything, you're respecting your ancestors' service to feed you. So in a way, it's full service, but it is the food.
Now, circling back as a restaurant owner, now as a consumer, which one would it be?
So I will answer it, but I kind of have two different answers. One would be going to like more of a fast casual kind of place. Like that's the food for me. Like I'm going there for the food. I'm not necessarily expecting the best service in the world. Well, you know, I feel like ambiance and service aren't necessarily the same thing. How much thought you put into, I mean, I walked into plenty of holes in the wall that have an incredible dish that I'll go back for time and again. But like a fine dining restaurant, kind of to Avishar's point, what he was saying, a lot of times I'll go and have like, let's call it a 14-course tasting menu. I'm not expecting every single one of those dishes to knock my socks off, but I do expect to feel taken care of. So to answer your question, it depends on what kind of meal I'm going for. I will suffer bad service for a quicker, cheaper, like I just need a really good bite of food. I have places in my neighborhood that I go back to time and again that I don't expect good service, and I'm okay with that. But for like fine dining, if I ever went into a fine dining restaurant and they called me a bitch when I walked in the door, we'd have issues.
But let me ask you this though. If you went to a fine dining spot and the 14 out of the 14 courses were top-notch 10 and the service sucked,
I would probably take that over bad service and other food. But again, I think it's about expectations. Of what
I wouldn't even have sat through the 14. I would have got up and left.
I got
If the service was bad, I'm out of there.
There's some places that are kind of in between. There's some that are novelty bad service, and there's some places that are understaffed or short-staffed, or that it's a local business and they cannot afford to have service. It's just their vision they want to carry, right? In that case, you might have somebody who is a mean or aggressive owner to you, and then you go there enough times that they're like, "Ooh, I like you," and then you feel like you really like. Out of all the achievements that I've had in my life, to like go to like a Chinese restaurant, they're like, "Hey, you're Chinese." I'm like, "Yeah, I did it." Like, you know, that was so much cooler than like anything else. Like, but they're like, "You're one of us." Like that's bad service turned good, and it's because of the food. So I mean, I think that's like the second level of it. I think it's just like when you go to a place that has no servers, and then they're like, "Hey, I got you, man."
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Depending on the type of restaurant. So if it's fast casual, the food is good. I'm not expecting like great service. I just want to go and eat like the wing spot that we used to go to.
Yep.
Now, fine dining, I'm expecting to be taken care of. If I'm spending my money, like I want good service. So
Now, I just kind of thought of something else, and I want each one of y'all to answer. Your own restaurant now. Now you're the owner. If you can have one or the other, I mean, you can't have both. Which one would it be, service or food?
I mean, as a restaurant owner,
Yeah.
I think the only option is actually food, because if I don't have, like, what am I going to do? Sell the service? Like, you come here and I talk. I'm a therapist. Here's $20. I'm going to say, "Hi, welcome. Goodbye."
yeah.
You gave me money because I'm a really strong personality. There's other jobs that you could do that in, right? Not necessarily restaurants. There's a lot of hard work that goes behind the food. So I think food.
I don't know
about
if we've
you?
met. I'm Kate, and I started a business where I sell things through a vending machine.
So if your vending
The
machine could
deepest
give service, what was your vending machine for?
So don't limit the vending machine, because
Like-
the vending machine is providing a service.
Sure.
I just said with the vending machine, what would you prefer? The vending machine to give good service? Or
We cut that part out.
the vending machine food
Can't
to be
sell
great?
the good food when the
I'm
machine's
just messing
working,
with
so
you.
I get it.
So what do we
Yeah,
argue? I mean,
but-
let's put a third one on. What about, so is DoorDash a service? Because what you're doing is you're pressing a button to avoid any contact with anybody, but so it is a service, right? And you pay extra for that service. And who's accountable for the food?
Well, we are getting
Well,
into the
two
weeds
people.
now, but I mean, that is the front of the house end of that bargain. The food still needs to be good, right? But it doesn't matter if the restaurant's fault that the food got delivered cold, or if it's DoorDash's fault the food got delivered cold. I think that still comes down to the service versus the food debate here. And in that case, that would fall into the former, where it's like, I want the food to be good and hot. I don't care if the person didn't follow my directions to ring the doorbell when he got there, or
Do you think
whatever
that has
it
to do
is.
more with expectation then? Because there's an expectation that we have when we press that button, right? We're like, yeah, convenient. Or, oh, I'm high. You know, I don't know. Like, you just get something, you know, whatever I want, I press, it shows up, right? Is that what the average person who's using DoorDash is thinking? Or they're saying, hey, I want to imagine myself sitting in this restaurant, enjoying this nice walls, clear water, like all of these things.
They
with
don't, feel
silverware.
like they don't want to go out to go get the food.
Well, that's a thing. I mean, I've eaten at, let's say, a ramen restaurant before where, or even better, my wife was at a ramen restaurant. She's like, "Do you want anything to go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love a bowl of ramen right now." And the restaurant literally refused to put their food in a to-go box. It's like, it's not going to be good when they get home. I'm like, "Can you please put me on the phone with the waiter so I can explain I'm a chef? I fully understand what it is I'm getting. I just want a bowl of ramen. I don't care if I need to microwave it and like,
Pull the
shish it
chef
up.
card.
It's like that with
I talked them
fries.
into doing
Yeah.
it. Oh, it's that
Yes,
same way with
they say with
fries. Yeah.
fries.
And it's like we are now under the same expectation that this is not going to be restaurant quality coming home. I am just hungry and want something that I don't have in my fridge. So like that expectation, I'm really happy with. And like, where's the service come into that? Like, I'm not really sure. But to answer the question about my own restaurant and what would I prefer if I could choose one or the other, I think that I'm going to be the opposite of that. And I'm going to say that I'd prefer for my team to provide good service. Because I think right now, especially after the pandemic, I feel like a lot of people want to feel taken care of. And like quality of things has been wildly all over the map. But I think that people feeling like they have a home, and there's statistics about this too that I don't have it in front of me, but more people are shy to go try new places right now, and they'll go back to the same places regardless of how they feel about the food because they already know what their expectations are. They don't want to go and vote with their money on something they haven't tried before. So I feel like people feeling like we know who they are, like they're taken care of.
That ties into some facts that we were given, just magically appeared that say 2024 reports suggest that nearly half of today's consumers are hesitant to spend freely, which means that a great dish might not be enough to keep them coming back. And that service helps elevate that perceived value.
Yeah.
I don't actually have the data. I kind of think from our customers that come in there, I kind of feel like maybe the 50 and over crowd, they prefer service. They'll come back and get that same soup, no matter what.
As long as it's so hot that it burns their mouth, they will come back and let's.
And kind of they don't
But
really
to your
care
point,
about it.
when you
They're
just-
Can I
not-
get older
they're
than
kinda-
50, please?
Well, I'm 51, so.
But what you just described is, again, it seems to be the word is expectation. Is you're expecting a 50-year-old to say 55-plus-year-old to say,
Kind of routine based.
well,
You know,
but you're
they're
making an
that
assumption
same
that
thing.
you're talking about your guests before even knowing the guest. Before they even came to the door, you're saying this person's going to want their soup hot, which is service. It's not even about the food anymore, right? So it's very interesting. Like, you can't have one without the other. You can't. It's impossible. You can't say, hey, here's a restaurant. I'm just going to make it for myself and one other person in this room, and it doesn't need to have any service. Like that's not useful to anybody. That's a hypothetical, especially a little too far.
And
I think.
speaking of service, real quick, Kate.
Yeah.
What you have in vending machines, what's service to you?
What is service to me? A machine that works. And I think if the machine works, I hope I've taken care of everything else that could be perceived as service with it. So it comes with the fork, it has the label, it has some feel-good stuff that really is meaningful to me. It's got a poem from a local poet on the label. Like everything should be there. So I feel like I have provided service in that I've tried to anticipate all of the needs. So the only thing that can fail, other than someone not liking what I've done, is the machine being broken.
Well, let me ask you this. How do you get feedback from you just having a machine from the people?
It's a lot harder.
I'm
a
just,
lot
I'm just
harder.
curious, like, how do you find out that they like this product or, you know, they weren't satisfied with this, you need to switch things?
The honest answer is I don't. I don't unless somebody actively seeks me out to find out how to give that feedback to me. I do find out in return sales. I do try to be around to hear, but I got used to life during the pandemic when we switched to everything being entirely takeout and not hearing the noises in the restaurant, not seeing the people's faces, not seeing the dishes being empty coming back. And so I have to, a certain level, I have to assume that it's making people satisfied, and I have to make sure that I'm happy with the quality of the food. So from there, it's trust and hoping that it works.
I would say on it, as a counterpoint, though, in the pandemic, we got the most guest feedback because we had it in front of the house. So in the back, like we got Instagram messages, we got people reposting pictures of dishes 1,000 times more than we did when we were like a full service restaurant because
People have more
like we
time
made
on
how
their
many
hands
connections.
cooked.
I would
friends.
say we did the first 6 months to a year, and then I felt like we were asking for feedback after that.
That was after 2021 when we started going off that service spectrum.
Right about the time we decided to close down.
Interesting, yeah, but at least I remember that I didn't have the same, like I didn't get the rush from the guests necessarily because that's the standard, like the noise is standard. But to see somebody reach out in a time when there was, as to your point, when there was, we didn't know what was going to happen. To say someone send you a 15-page message saying, "Hey, we are afraid to leave our house. This brought us, we lost our jobs. This meal brought us warm." I don't think I ever received that
Yeah, but
in a restaurant as much. And nowadays it does seem like that, it's a combination of both because people seem to be more grateful about the services, which is awesome. Like, it's nice to have that interaction because it really, like, when you think about it, even if you completely think service is the worst thing in the entire world, you don't care about it. If somebody reaches out to you as a guest and says, "Man, you made my day," are you gonna say like, "No, the steak made the day"? Like, like you feel a little touched, right? I think that's like the
your
service
heart
part.
gets warm.
Yeah, your heart gets warm because in the end, the thing that you made it to do a service to somebody. I think that's what we're trying to get at. It seems like it's.
Can I put a bow on this point before we
She
pivot
didn't
a little
answer
bit?
yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How dare you? Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
good,
Then I'll
man.
put
I'm trying, I'm trying.
I'll let you put a bow on
or
it then.
food, which one?
Yeah.
If you gotta just pick
We
one.
already know her answer.
Service
Service for you.
for the experience.
Why?
Because when they're walking into the door, people want to feel heard. They want to feel appreciated, and they want to know that they're being taken care of. It's the experience. Just food is a part of it. But if we've trained the staff, as soon as they walk in, "Hi, welcome to Marlowe's. Here goes the menus. Let us know if you have any questions. How can I help you? Here goes my recommendations." And then the average ticket goes up too. So you can, if you take the time to talk to somebody the right way, make them feel good. "Oh, I'll take another drink. I'll take."
like the
They're
Maya
ordering
Angelou
more.
quote that we
Yeah,
read
they're
right
ordering
before,
more
yeah.
because you're taking care of them and you're making them feel welcome. And we hear it.
So I think I'm hearing everybody here. So we're saying that it's not about the food, it's not about the service, it's about the friends we made along the way. Is that correct?
No, I didn't say that.
The journey is important, right? It's all yeah. I just, by the way, for the record, if you look at all of our reviews, and I am the person that makes the food, and we want to make sure that, because the food is objective to an extent. We're going to make this thing, it's going to be this way, it's correct. It's correct that we made it the way that's supposed to be. But when we get our reviews and you read them, the reviews that make us the most excited, we're like, we walked in the door and somebody said hello, because you are that person. And when you go to a 3-star restaurant, when you go into a hole in the wall, when you go anywhere, if somebody simply says hello, then you have what's
Goes a
called
long
service.
way. It
goes a
It's
long
service.
way.
That's just baseline service. So you want the hello, otherwise you would be using DoorDash, right?
I mean,
Because-
there's one place that, well, you go to more than I do. I like the food, but I don't go anymore because I go and sit at the bar and it takes you 6 minutes to come over and say, "Hi,
I'm sorry, we're
would
working
you
on
like
that.
some
Yeah.
water?" Yeah, I'm not saying the name. I didn't say the name of the place. But it is a well-known restaurant, it's a well-known company that prides themselves on customer service. But yet I go and sit at the bar and I'm just sitting there waiting, and I got up and left.
And to your point, I went to a restaurant as well.
also
Yeah.
leave with bad service if the food's not
Well,
good.
no.
Like, if I can't make it better,
Now this place has good food. They have a few items on the
Yeah.
on the menu that I absolutely love. But
But if you
if
push the
I sit
exchange,
at
if
the
you
bar,
can't even order the damn thing, if you're not getting the food, how
correct.
can you be like,
So
well, I
I'm
didn't
not
even get
gonna
the
sit here
food
and
because I
spend
got
my
no
money, and then
service.
I got to leave you a tip too. Like, I'm just not
I have
doing
the
that.
patience of Job. I sit there and wait. She gets up and hey, 6 minutes later, I'm
There is,
I'm definitely more forgiving with bad service because like
Me
I
too.
see everything in the restaurant too, and I'm like, they just got triple sat or whatever it is. Like I can
Well,
see
this
that
is-
they're still training or like
It's empty.
whatever.
So
yeah.
I'm understanding because I'm in it. So, but if it's just me
But
and
you don't
two
have a
other
lot
people,
of patience anyway.
well, stop. Whatever. But if there's only four,
you are
if
sleeping
there's
on the
four
couch
people at the bar,
yeah.
and 3 people have been serviced, and I'm sitting down, and it takes you between 5 to 6 minutes to even come over and give me a menu, and you're just standing there not doing anything.
And that's
I'm out of there.
expectation, right? Because like when you walk into a spot like that, that's what you expect going into there. You're like, I need service. It's not a place like it's like a little window where you go up to the window and you order. And that's also on the owner, right? To be like, hey, what do we expect for when somebody shows up at the door? What if there's no hello? What if there's just like a tablet in the front? What if the tablet's broken? What if the machine is broken? How do I get the thing? So it's expectation seems to be the thing that brings it all together. Like whatever the person expects, if they don't get what they expect, whose fault is it? Is it because the food was terrible, or was it because no one understood? Was the food terrible because they said, "Hey, I'm vegetarian. You just had the meat." You know, that's pretty. Yeah.
I definitely want to ask a very specific question about that. But first, I want to give an anecdote of something actually that you did for me once that you might not even remember, but I do. And this is kind of the point of it. It was right after the pandemic started in March of 2020. Bronwyn, my wife's birthday is in April, and we wanted nothing more than to like have a normal night of some kind. And we ordered service bar to go. And I said in the note that it was her birthday and we dressed up and like ate the meal at our kitchen table, and you sent a lovely note in it. You sent cocktails, like prepackaged cocktails in the thing, and it was such a wonderful experience. I always love your food, so just know that the food was delicious, but that's not what we remember about that. We remember the amazing service that you gave us, and honestly, the food could have been like okay, and it still would have been the fact that you put the personal touches on it that I remember so much about that. And that was something that always endears me to you, and it's why I always say that, like, you're the consummate hospitality guy, but also like that made her birthday really, really special in a time that was really trying. And that's why, to me, service in those ways is super special. But going back to what we were just talking about for a second, so I kind of now know what your thing is, where it's like, all right, I'm going to get up and leave. Like, what is like the mortal sin for you at a restaurant? Like, what's the thing that you can't come back from service wise or food wise, I guess, for that matter?
I think over-promising and under-delivering. Like, if a server comes up and says, you're about to have the best experience of your life at the best restaurant in the city, and when it doesn't live up to it,
They talk like that?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, there's some.
And it made me so angry.
Never heard.
Or
Never heard the
if
restaurant
somebody
say.
says, I'm going to take that off your bill, and then it's still on my bill. Like anything where
Yeah.
they promised me something, even if I never asked for it, and then they didn't deliver it,
That's it.
I'm done.
I think the accountability and interaction is really important. And this is completely on the service side, but it's like a sub-service. Because sometimes you'll have a manager that'll come to you and be like, I'm going to make it right. And I was like, whoa, like I'm kind of like already like shaken because, I don't even know how to complain properly because I'm just like, it looks like this is like, I got to the point where I was so scared, like I'll go to a restaurant and it happened. I got like a steak. Maybe it's the most expensive steak on the menu and it's way overcooked. And I'm not going to say anything. I'll just look at it. And the service staff sees and they're like, oh shit, like that's overcooked. And they'll be like, is everything okay? And I was like, I don't even want to say it because I feel bad. They'll be like, what do you think? And they're like, oh, that looks overcooked. And then the manager comes out and will be like, hey, don't worry about it. I took it off the tab. And I'm like, that's not listening. That's not a conversation. There was two mistakes that happened.
I don't want to eat it.
Yeah. Once the food goes, and I think, again, the two pillars, once the food goes in any direction that wasn't expected, if the service follows and the bad service, it's really hard to guys when to come back because that person's, I think our job in that side of it is to make sure that everything goes well with the guest. And if it's gone and you didn't do the damage control or the adjustment or like at least just listen them out. Like, hey, how can I make this better? Ask that question. How am I going to come back? Because I don't feel like anybody's listening. If nobody's listening, then why am I even valued? Like, why am I even there? Like, you really don't care about me. You care more about you and your business. Than
Well, this
Yeah,
brings
and
up
I
a-
might be misunderstanding what you're saying, but like, I don't need you to take the bill off my food if I'm here to eat. I need you to make sure that the food is right, and if it's wrong, fix it.
Correct. Or just
I'll
say,
pay for it.
That's the thing. That was my thing. Is I was
Yeah.
like, so you took this steak, you paid for the steak, and I didn't get anything to eat for the dinner.
Yeah,
Because
so you're like, I might as well
I was
not
like, I'm
even
just
come
hungry.
here at
No,
all.
I was like, I came here to eat. So I was like, I would have eaten and I also said, like, look, as long as we come to the acceptance that this steak is like, yeah, objectively it's overcooked, I'll still eat it. It's not a big deal. But the next guest, as a fellow business owner, if one of my kitchen team overcooked a steak, I want to know. I want to know like right away, and I want to make it right before they even can think about it. Like before it even hits the table, I want to make sure it's correct because they paid for that and they're using their time and their energy. And like I just want them to feel good, right? That's what we talked about. So that was like 3 people missing, right? 4 people missing. And at that point, it's like, what do you do? Like how can you earn my trust back?
So what acutely is your mortal sin there? Like what in like 2-3 words? Like what is the thing that will
Not
cause
listening.
you to like
Just not listening. It's
listening?
just
Okay.
it's
Here's
very
my
intimate.
mortal sin right here. So I'm gonna give you an
You
example.
don't see. You don't see Mortal sin, I'm done. Yeah.
This is an absolute true story, and she could testify to this. I'm a real forgiving person, bad service and all. I left my card at a place, at an establishment, pretty good food, drink. They know me, know the owner. Called my house at 2:00 in the morning and said I had an open tab and he had my card still.
That's wild. So have you ever gone back there?
No,
Absolutely not.
That's
we're not
wild.
patronizing.
Did you tell us?
I didn't yet. Mine would be, I'm a big steps to service person, and I truly believe, I don't care where I am in writing the order down, getting the wrong food or the wrong drink is like my big time. I'm just like, I'm
Oh, actually,
done
that's
with
what
that.
keep that in mind. When you put the customer copy on top of the merchant copy and you sign the wrong one, you're like, what? And you didn't just think to just literally, I just signed. I can't do math twice. Like, come on, man.
I'll just leave the customer copy there. I don't even care.
You said that it hurt you said it hurt your feelings a lot more when you see that you get a really poor review in terms of service What do you do?
I am a big follow-up person. So I've trained my managers at this point, but we have a Slack channel that's specifically for service recovery. So we get feedback in a lot of different ways. I've talked about the email software that we used before. There's a whole review part of that too. So it amalgamates all of our Resi, Google, TripAdvisor, just all that stuff into one place, plus our own internal stuff, so we can see the bad reviews. There's certain ones that our FOH managers know exactly how to deal with, and then there's some that I'll be like, hey, let me take care of this one. And if it's a long thing about our service, I mean, those are the ones that I'll write like 12 paragraphs for. If it's something where it's like, I didn't like the steak, I'm like, I'm so sorry, I'm going to refund your bill right now. I wish you'd send something when you were in house so we could have fixed it. When it's something like the server didn't come back to the table for whatever, or like I said, mortal sin, I ordered the flounder and they sent out the snapper, and I'll be like, did they write it down? Like, I'll go back in the restaurant and be like, show me your notebook from last night. Like, I want to see what you wrote down for that table. And they're like, I didn't. Like, that's suspension.
So again, with the facts that we were just magically appeared right here, a notable 39% of restaurant owners are hopping on the trend of using data insights and technological advancements to better understand customer preferences. And that sounds like what you're doing, so tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we all have these tools surrounding us, and I think that it's about how we learn how to use them. And I think that something good that fits very cleanly into what we're talking about now is you can actually categorize those reviews about food, about service, about, I can't remember what the other data sets are that'll like automatically sort for you, but you can even do it on a like per server basis. So we've gone in and looked at each server and what types of reviews they've gotten over the course of time. Looking at 1 week is not a good way to do it, but looking over the course of like 2 months before we do a performance review with someone, and I never bring them that data, but it's kind of an informative point about like, okay, this server or this whatever is or even this dish is the most poorly reviewed or the best reviewed. And it kind of gives us a little bit of a guideline to start that conversation through technology. But I mean, it is interesting. I'm sure you guys get this too. We get mostly 5-star reviews. It's like the 1-star reviews in the sea of 5 that you like laser focus in on. So it's only, once or twice a week that we really have to do service recovery. But for the 5-star reviews, if you actually read a lot of those, they will mention negative things in those reviews. And the cool thing about technology is it'll actually pick those things out, where it'll say like, this was actually negatively reviewed. Even if it's in a 5-star review, it'll say, mention poor service, mention bad timing. So that's why I like the technology, is it's like almost a sorting tool that helps you with that. And then we can make bigger sweeping changes in the restaurant. For a minute, our servers, for whatever reason, were having real trouble acknowledging people's anniversaries and birthdays. People will take the time to put it on their reservation book, it's our birthday. I want our host, as they're seeing, to say happy birthday. I want our server, as they're greeting the table, happy birthday. I want them to get a candle with their dessert, if not a free dessert. Like, I want it acknowledged multiple times. It's a special day. Excuse me. And we were getting a lot of feedback that people were missing those marks, but it wasn't necessarily in bad reviews. It was like the food was excellent. I mentioned my birthday. It didn't get acknowledged. So being able to parse all that stuff out really quickly is where
a light bulb
like
moment when you said that.
Yeah.
We need to add that. Even though our rewards gives happy birthday, we need to start telling them to say happy birthday when they come in. I never even really thought about that. We just give them $5 off. Yeah. But now we're going to...
People want acknowledgement.
We're going to make them say happy birthday.
I personally hate birthdays at this point.
I do.
That's I will never write down
birthday or
my
happy
birthday.
belated.
I don't want anybody, I don't like people.
When they come in now,
I don't want anyone acknowledging me.
train the staff with that.
Yep.
Good. That was good stuff.
How about you, Avishar? Do you use any technology in your places to make life
As
easier?
being born in the late 80s, early 90s, technology was we came before and after a lot of the big jumps. I think just like something like sous vide or anything else, technology is simply a tool. I think the issue sometimes we find these days is we have a newer staff, and sometimes they find technology to be the solution. It is not a solution. It is a pathway to a more efficient solution. So if, for instance, I have 100 reviews, like you said, if I just say, well, the AI is taking care of it, you lose the personal aspect, right? So it's not useful there. Where it is very useful is to be like, cool. So using our, we use Talk and we use Test, we use both of them kind of in conjunction. What I asked for is like every guest that walks into me, learn a fact about them and write it in the guest notes. So next time they come, because we want them to come again, we remember that this person's left-handed, so you put a silver on the ledge. Because
I like
you
that.
do these, or you watch the way to put their belt on, you can even get it before.
I'm not watching the way people put their belt on.
Well, you can see on the way that it's buckled on. But there's some small cues, and a lot of it has to do with you can use the technology to assist that. The AI is not going to predict, I mean, not yet. We can't, and we're going into AI because it's necessary to use AI to parse things. Do I think it's completely necessary for somebody to go through every 5-star review that has no feedback on it and say, hey, I don't have anything to go off of, so let me just say thank you. No, you can use the technology for that. But if somebody leaves one and you just look at it and you say, well, this person who left 5 stars or took the time out of their day to leave you a little bit of feedback, they don't hear anything whatsoever. I feel like you lose what's called the human aspect, which is why like a lot of what we do is we're small business owners. We're not necessarily fast food or any of the giants. We don't have access to the same tools as they do.
Yeah.
But what is really cool that we can do is we can make it very, very
Yeah.
personal, and where we're like, the reason people come to us is because, to your point, they want to see you, they want to talk to you, they want to hear from you. So, and again, feel free to steal this. What we did is on our reservation, we reward people for actually giving us the feedback. We have this section. It says PSST, like question mark. And people, like, it's
okay.
completely open. It doesn't mean anything. But people will write stuff like, one person wrote like Jeff Goldblum, and then every server spiel we had was a Jeff Goldblum joke. And then we found out later that they didn't make the reservation, their mom did, so they were so confused. But it was a connectable moment anyway.
That's
They were like so lost. We're like, what did you? And somebody put banana, duck or something, and somebody did 2 banana dishes and a duck. And we took it a little too far, I would say, with that one. But it was like those elements. What it lets us do, I think, for communication, it's nice. So if I saw that, it's cool. But how does my entire staff know that this person feels that way? So having it on your phone, like Homebase, things like that, you can use manager logs, and everybody can see all the interactions that were there.
We use Hot Schedule.
Yeah, and it'll like summarize the logs in a way that it's like, if I forgot to tell someone, because you can't like, we all have staff now. We have more than one person. We have like 30, 40 people. If somebody is new, you want them to have the same tools to be able to do the same decisions, right? You want them to also be like, hey, I remember you from last time. Like, how do you know who I what? Like that mind reading sort of ESP thing, like that's technology helps us in that regard. But the fallacy of it that I'm seeing, people will use it to take shortcuts. If you're going to use something like AI, you have to train the AI. You can't just say, hey, AI, answer this. Because it actually does. The best thing about people that I realize is that people that have a problem with how to use AI, they have a hard time communicating with human beings because they can't even communicate to a robot what they want to say. Because the robot's like, hey, I don't have any feelings. Tell me what you want me to say, and you can't tell them what you want it to say to your guest.
Well, something that you just said set off a big light bulb moment for me. Probably my biggest takeaway from this, not to step on our next segment. I only reply to negative reviews. I never reply to the positive reviews.
I do. Reply to both.
You got to share the positive reviews.
Oh, well,
so you-
I will like screenshot a bunch and send them to my social media team to repost, but it's not coming with beforehand saying like, thank you so
but I
much. Do
think
you
we're
mind if I
natural-
use this feedback?
Yeah.
My reasoning was just this is, and we can go back to how our entire conversation started. If you were the guest, for you to write a review, that's me asking you to take time out of your day that you didn't spend at my restaurant. And that's really nice for somebody to be like, hey, it's still in my mind, whether it's upset or not. As you said earlier, it's a chance for feedback. And it's not just negative feedback, that's good. Positive feedback's really nice too. So it's nice to reinforce those things.
Share it with the team
idea of
and
you
share it with the
rewarding
team.
people for positive behavior instead of rewarding people for negative behavior. Because I get irritated in general when the response that people seek, not all people, but some people, is I want it free. I want everything free. You didn't give me enough free. And so I like the idea of rewarding positive.
But kindness is free.
And some of the residuals of actually doing that is staff sees that, or you're telling them, and it's kind of reinforcing positive behavior.
You guys just opened up your third location. What have you taken into that location from a service and food aspect that you learned from your first two, and how does this conversation apply to that?
Making sure that each guest is greeted and welcomed, that you're engaging like with the guests, and that you lead the conversation, because a lot of the times people come up and they're looking, they don't know what they want. The menu's small, but I think in their mind, they're expecting it to be super complicated. So when you're the cashier, you're the first person that the guest is seeing. Hi, welcome to Marlowe's, give a recommendation. If there's anything that they want to change, we just have a build your own, just follow these steps. Like, you guide the conversation and don't let the customer guide you.
And how about with the food quality?
And the consistency.
And this is something else, just to touch on something that you were saying. It's a different aspect when you're not just a brick and mortar. So we're in a food hall. So it's super, even though we're all family, it's super competitive. So you just saying welcome, hello, as customers come by, you have an advantage, because most food operations
this.
don't do that.
Yeah.
They're on the
They
cell
might
phone.
be on the phone.
Oh, I've
They
seen
might
That's a
not.
big
They
one.
might not be making eye contact. So just that alone gives you a leap on that.
A good example is this specific restaurant. This is a fast casual with, technically there should be zero service that we offer here. The most difficult job that anybody has in this entire restaurant is this order counter, because you are the pinch point of every single guest interaction. And people, when they get up here, They have a lot of questions, and it's very hard sometimes to fill the questions because you're going to do both those things at the same time. Yet, when we opened up, we got a lot of interesting looks from people because all of our staff is trained to say hello. Like, hey, what's up? Before we were like, we don't need anything. We don't need anything. Well, how come everyone's saying hi to us? How come everyone's saying hello to us? But it's just like, I think maybe there's some societal commentary here where it's like we've come to a place where you can't even say hello without expecting some kind of interaction. And we're like, hey, our positive interaction is what brought us to this business. It's not like our business. It's just, it brought us to this, like, we're just kind people. So we can retain kindness even in a setting that has no service. And if you see somebody that needs a glass of water, please offer them the water, even though like it's back there, self-serve. We serve guests all the time because it's like, it feels, like, as to your point, you want to feel taken care of. You want to feel like, hey, I'm at my friend's house, or like they care about me. And I think like that's how you vote with your dollar. You're like,
And
hey,
then,
yeah.
and the other thing is we're having repeat customers that come from other establishments, so they have an expectation of being greeted.
Yeah, 'cause you
so
have
we
the
need
same
that
office,
same
right? Yeah.
consistency of welcoming the guests no matter where we open. So that's important.
Lessons learned is what it seems like. We had the same thing where we just had no idea like how far would that take us. But it looks like with the reviews, it's like people are really like, hey, your staff is. I wanted to say your staff is awesome. You're like, that's a compliment that you look for. You.
All right, we got limited time left, and we have two more quick hit things to get to. But what is our biggest takeaway from this whole conversation?
Something that you kind of mentioned that I said I was going to bring is, and that's birthday. I love that we're going to start saying happy birthday to every customer that comes in, because we have the technology that already knows it's their birthday. They get $5 off. So that was great.
I like the idea of just setting expectations, but also rewarding the positive. So I'm kind of in that same boat. Maybe not necessarily birthdays, but just
I think the
yay.
active listening seems to be something that we could certainly work on, where there's like listening where you're like procedurally you're listening, like, yeah, I hear you. Or it's like, oh, you didn't like this. Just repeating that back. Like I picked that up from everybody's just in our interactions to understand one another and understand the guest. It seems to be a net positive way to do the thing, and whether it's food or service.
Yeah, acknowledging the way that someone's feeling and what it is that they're telling you. Good,
Yeah.
good, bad, or indifferent.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I think that's we can certainly work on that because with the food thing, there's always an ego. So it's nice to see that.
Yeah.
Just asking the right questions, asking a question to help avoid mistakes, from occurring.
Awesome. So we wanted to wrap up before we get to our interview with a rapid fire segment of overrated, underrated. Kate has been doing her homework on this. She has
I
lots
have a
of
list of things.
opinionated things to fire off.
Yeah.
Let me quickly say that Kate and I have been very much enjoying texting each other pictures of Cybertrucks every week since we had that conversation. So
my favorite
if anyone
last
wants in on
time.
that, they're welcome to join that text combo as well. Every time I see one on the street, I'm like, sending to Kate.
Okay, so just a quick review. We're just going to go through a few things. I want to hear strong opinions. Overrated, underrated, how do you feel about it? We were talking earlier, and I absolutely want to ask how you all feel about ranch dressing.
Ooh, can I go first?
Yes.
I love ranch dressing as long as it's homemade. It's my favorite. I know it's childish, but I'll eat it on anything.
Why is it childish?
Because I ate a lot of ranch dressing as a child, and my son loves
Literally
ranch dressing.
childish.
Yeah,
Oh, got it.
yeah. No, like it's a childish dip, but like it is if you make it right, it is a good sauce. We feature it on our menu at Chapman's all the time. If anyone asks for it on anything, I have no qualms with that. I'm like, yes, that was a smart decision by you to put ranch dressing on everything. So
As a consumer, underrated, but as a restaurant owner, overrated. I don't want to hear ranch dressing and cheesesteaks ever.
Ooh,
I'm
that
so
always
sorry.
hear that.
Buffalo
I feel
ranch
like it'd be so
cheesesteak.
good.
They go crazy about it, asking me and then driving me.
So my
nuts.
special next week is going to be Buffalo Ranch chopped chicken.
No.
Shishito peppers. How do you feel about them? I hate seeing them anywhere because I just feel like that they're treated poorly and I don't want to just eat that.
So there's a frame of reference, shishitos as a dish, as opposed to
Shishitos as a dish.
I would probably agree with Padron peppers are pretty cool. We don't see as much of those anymore. But yeah, it seems like would you also in the same vein compare that to mussels, where you're just like, here's mussels and beer broth and some bread, and I'm going to charge you money for this.
I would not compare it to mussels. I would eat mussels anytime.
But I mean, it's like a cheat code for like, if you just fry it and you put salt in, like, how can you charge for that at a restaurant?
I feel like shishitos are overrated.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah.
Free birthday desserts.
I think that if they're used correctly, I feel like it's probably underrated. I mean, you want to make people feel special, right? Like, I think that coming up with a special dessert that not everyone in the restaurant can get, that you only get if you're celebrating a special thing, is really cool. And we've done birthday ice creams that are only available if it's your birthday, et cetera. And, you know, the whole point is to make someone feel special. They're celebrating their special day with you.
Underrated. I think that we could do a better job of celebrating people's birthdays.
I think if you're making something special that's just for birthday desserts, I'm on board. But if it's just have a dessert from the menu for free, I think it's too easy to take advantage of that. And I'm not on board with that.
What do you think
It
about
undervalues it for me. Why would I pay for it instead of just telling you that it's my birthday?
But it's going to be profitable for your business. More
Guest,
cakes.
as a guest, why would I pay you $15 for something that you will give to me for free? Like, it has no value anymore.
What do you think about a restaurant owner who brought in a whole Carvel cake that they ordered from DoorDash for someone's birthday? Because Avishar did that for me last year.
It's got a Dairy Queen one, yes.
You guys are making my heart moist, man.
My opinion is that in the context, if we're saying the context is rewarding somebody, it seems like life's been really hard for the last 5-6 years. So if you could give something to make somebody's day just a little bit better, I think that's we don't do that enough. So I don't even care about the value anymore at this point, because it's all I'm trying to do, and I can't control how you feel about it. But if I know that I did my best to give you a little bit of a boost.
Okay, we have family meal for your staff. Should you offer it or give a discount?
Well, we give discounts on food for staff.
Yeah.
Underrated?
That's underrated, I think.
Underrated.
It's a big part of our sell at underrated. It's a big part of our sell at Chapman's that we all sit down for family meal every single day. People don't need to clock out for it. It's just part of the day. Everyone has to stop and they need to sit down. We all eat a meal together, and that's really important for camaraderie and the fact that you know where one of your meals is coming from every day.
Yeah, we underrate no matter what, whether it's the restaurant or somebody paying for it. It's just one of those. How do you serve somebody else if you can't serve your own? We have noticed, actually, we did some very casual studies that don't involve any scientific data whatsoever, but rating moods on a slider scale, and it seemed like days where the staff meal was heavier, the staff performed better, and they were excited about their shift. Whereas on some of the days when it was lacking in size or thought process, it seemed like it certainly affected service.
Yeah.
I would definitely apply just for the egg sandwich to get a discount.
You get a free work here.
Added fees on tips to separate out wellness, insurance for staff.
I feel like I need to abstain from this answer.
That's a tough one, yes. I think important transparency.
Yeah.
This is money that's going to you, and you're going to be aware that it's being charged. I get upset if I see a charge and nobody said anything. It's just it shouldn't, just like we shouldn't give a gift, like a birthday dessert for free with that. I think it's important to be like, hey, this 3% is here. And we offer that we'll take it off. If you don't want to contribute, it's no problem. It's really no problem. The reason, let me say why we charge it. So
Well, let's go back. Overrated or underrated?
I think it's underrated because it really has helped a lot of our staff in ways that we couldn't alone. We know the margins of our business, and sometimes it's nice to have the ability for somebody to say, hey, chef, I want to go travel to New York. And how would you like it if your owner was like, hey, man, we saved up some money for you to go and do some research.
I'm going to say
development here."
overrated.
Okay.
I'd rather it be in the bill and not me see it.
You mean everything's just $1 more expensive?
Yeah, and I wouldn't. And I wouldn't
yeah.
mind paying for it.
I don't want to. I don't want to see a
seeing that.
bill.
I
don't
think that
see
we
that.
should legitimately do an episode on
So the
this.
question is then is it a percentage based off of fixed rate?
I think this is an important one because this is where a different side of service comes in. It's how we serve our employees. And I would love to dive deeper into this because I have a lot of thoughts on it that I don't feel like we have time to do right now. That was an awesome episode, y'all. Thank you for joining us for Restaurant Roundtable, brought to you by Kraft, Heinz Away from Home. And please join us again for your next one. If you like this episode, follow, all the things, and we'll see you again in a few weeks. As you might expect, the opinions that we express on this podcast are just that, opinions and for entertainment purposes only.
If you love this podcast, help us out.
Give us a thumbs up.
Also, be sure to go to craftheinzawayfromhome.com and sign up for our newsletter.
So remember, if you liked what you heard today,
Please head over to craftheinzawayfromhome.com and sign up.
We have got all sorts of exclusives coming with special insights, access to marketing, and a lot more.
Of course, subscribe, share, like, all those things. See you next time.